Hey everybody, and welcome to another fun week here. These little sessions with Tom have been extremely popular. I'm surprised. I thought it would be a lot of fun, and maybe having you here.
Made it popular, I agree.
Okay, that accounts for some of it, but we have had a lot of feedback just letting us know how much people love these. So we are going to go through each week one different product in the skincare line, and then maybe a few other products in the personal care line that we've had people ask us about. So after each of these interviews, feel free to let us know what products you'd like to hear about. Today we're going to be talking about Rapid Repair. This is a product that Tom formulated several years ago, and it's one of the best in the skincare line for sure. So I'm going to turn the time over to him and let him tell you all the great things about Rapid Repair.
Well, there are a lot of great things about it. Rapid Repair is one of the most important ingredients you can use in your skincare. One thing you have to understand about skincare when you're talking about other companies and their products is most of the ingredients in the products don't work. Many of them are toxic and age your skin faster than if you didn't use it. And the active ingredients, if there are any, usually they're at such minuscule amounts that they're insignificant in the formulation. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Rapid Repair. It's part of our system. We don't have many products to use for skincare. You look at a lot of companies and they'll have 10, 12, 14, 15 products to use for all of these things. We don't have a lot. Of course, there's the exfolium and there's a facial cleanser. Now, those two serve that purpose. But then you get into the skincare and you go with Skin Dew, which you use twice, and then Transfusium, and you use the Skin Dew before and after. See, so there's your Transfusium. Then you use Actify 6000 in the day, or at night you substitute it with Rapid Repair, and that's all.
And why do you use it at night only?
Well, because your body, number one, regenerates and grows more at night than it does in the day. Your whole body does, and your skin is the largest organ in the body. So you accumulate a lot of damage. And if you understand that in skincare, skincare aging is really all from environmental damage. I remember years ago I saw in the National Geographic magazine, they had a picture of a monk. And he had gone into this monastery as a child and had never been out in the sun in his life. And he was 87 years old, and he had skin, they said, like a baby, and he did. Because he was living in the high mountain areas, there was no pollution, he was never in sunlight or anything, and he had just literally perfect skin. So skin is really is caused by environmental factors. Certainly growth factors go down and things like that, but if you can eat pretty good, and if you lived in a monastery like that, you'd have great skin, but who wants to do that? So what we did, since we're living in the real world, I was looking at things to work with it so that we could make the skin so that it really could undo the damage that had occurred through the day. Now, first of all, the skin is a living, breathing organ. And here's a good example. When a person dies, the skin does not die. It lives for 2 or 3 or 4 days. And men themselves even grow whiskers and have to be shaved before the viewing at the funeral because the hair still grows.
That's a little creepy.
It is creepy. I mean, you could take skin off a cadaver and put it on a face, and they do that. You see cadaver skin. Have you ever thought about that? That's skin off a dead person that they put on a living person that has been badly scarred or burned, and the skin grows right there because the skin is not dead even though the person is. So because it's on the outside, we can do a lot of things for it. But first of all, you need to understand that skin doesn't, it needs oxygen, but it doesn't get oxygen from your lungs. It takes oxygen from the outside in, and it respires and gives off carbon dioxide. So you don't need lungs to grow skin. It's taken externally and then releases the carbon dioxide from metabolism. But with that oxygen, when it comes in, there are so many pollutants that they are now damaging the skin quite badly because they're either toxic, or they can be carcinogenic, or they're oxidizers, which causes decay like rusting. So those are the various factors that go on. And then, of course, the single biggest cause of skin is sunlight. And doesn't have to be directly sunlight. At first they thought it was UV light does the most damage, and there are some like the UVA, which really doesn't do much, but the B and the C, especially B, does the burning on skin, and so you think, well, you should avoid the B, but really it's the A that doesn't do a lot, but in the long term it does, because it's the one that penetrates deepest and does most of the oxidation, corrosive damage to your skin.
Now, as I travel around and do my presentation, I'd ask you, what is the worst thing you can do for your skin? And of course, you tell me the sun. So, interestingly enough, there was a man he's a truck driver, and he's put up some posts this weekend about his face, and he showed the difference on one side of his face that always has seen the sun, to the other side of his face that has not seen half as much sun, and the difference in how many wrinkles he has from one side to the other. Really showing exactly what you say to be true.
It is true, and one thing, if you'll notice, most people that drive, their left hand is older than their right hand is because it's closer to the window. Now, the types of light that damages you is not just the UV A and B, but A being the big one. Also, no study is showing that visible light, not in the UV range, but a whole different range, will actually age the skin too. So the incidental light coming into the room from a window ages your skin, not as fast as UVA, but it does age your skin significantly. So you look at all that, and so what is skin? Circulation slows down, the stem cells are damaged, DNA is irreparably destroyed or damaged, skin starts to corrode, and when it breaks, it forms like a little scar tissue. It's called disulfide bond. That's what a wrinkle is. And when you think about wrinkles are really the skin's defensive mechanism to pull the damaged area in to protect it from the sun. So, but they're unsightly, and we don't want them, and we want it in the skin. So that's what put me on the quest.
Okay, well, I have a question. So I'll interrupt you here and there just to say hello. We've got Pat Garrett saying hello from California, and Diane Kinnison from Nebraska. And we've got Monica Killiman. She has a question, and she says, would you recommend rapid repair for rosacea?
It's going to do some things, but I think you would find that particularly the triangle of life would be fairly effective for that. That's ingestible, but it would be, it could be effective for rosacea too, along with transfusion. Those two have got quite a bit of power for that type of thing, but we can't say that it would cure it. It would improve the look of it. That's what you have to say at cosmetics. In cosmetics, you cannot say that there's a biological change that takes place. You say you can have ingredients that support something in doing it, and I have the formulation right here for rapid repair, and we won't zoom in on it, but you can see it's extensively. It's a very secret, powerful formulation. People can read the ingredients, but just having ingredients on the label doesn't mean it works. You have to have the quantities of them to be effective.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Because when we talk about transfusium and the active ingredients in them, it means the ingredients that do the hard work of this product.
Mm-hmm.
So for rapid repair, last week you talked about skin dew and hyaluronic acid and a few cool things about that. What are the cool active ingredient issues or points for rapid repair?
Well, I don't know if these ingredients are cool. They're hot. And so I'll read through some of these because it's such an extensive formula, but let me tell you the most important thing. A number of years ago, they found from a type of a fungus, they found an ingredient called ergothioneine, which would actually identify to the skin, to the repair mechanisms to come in and fix the damage that had been done. And so there was quite an extensive study, and I looked at it at the time, and I called the manufacturer, or the researcher that did it, and I said, I'm very interested in this ergothioneine, because if it undoes the damage that occurs during the day, for pollution and from sunlight, and that's what your study's saying it does, I would like to see if I could buy it. They said, yes, it does. They sent me copies of the studies, and I was getting ready, and then they came and they said, oh, we can't sell it to you. I said, why not? We're going to buy it. And they said, well, we have a contract with one of the largest cosmetic companies in the world, And this cosmetic company has gotten exclusive rights to it. It made me sick because the formulation is so powerful. And I said, no way I can buy it. No, they've got exclusive rights. I said, wait a minute. Now, here's one of the advantages of our industry. I said, are they a mass marketer? And they said, yes. And they said it's sold in all the department stores, the most exclusive places all over, one of the most expensive lines, and named after a woman. We won't say who that is. There's a number of them that are. But they said it is very, very powerful. And so with their marketing, they do massive amounts of sales, and so they've given us a contract. I said, okay, now knowing one thing, this is where business experience comes into it. I said, do they have an exclusive for mass marketing only, or do they have an exclusive for all kinds of sales, such as direct sales, where it isn't displayed in the store? And the guy who was a good friend of mine, Guy Langer was his name, he said, I don't know. I said, well, would you check? Because I don't do mass marketing. Mine is sold direct, person to person with that. So he looked at it and he came back and he said, you're right, it's just for mass marketing. So before he could say anything else, just being a good sales person, I said, okay, I'll take it for direct sales, which I did. So I took it and I started to produce the product. And it was about 2 years later, and we were selling a fair amount of it. And he comes in and he said, you know, Tom, you're selling, now this guy was the head of the American Cosmetic Scientists Association, and so he's a very prestigious person in this world for the American Society of Cosmetic Chemists, and so he was the president. And so he said, you're using a lot more of this than this company was. I said, how is that? It's impossible. It's like getting you to clean your room, just impossible to do it. I said, they're doing over $10 billion a year in sales. How could they use more? This is really easy. They have about an ounce of material, and it takes to be effective, it takes 20,000 parts per million, and that's where it starts to work, and it works until you get to 50,000 parts per million. He said, you're using 50,000 parts per million, the maximum amount. And he said, this cosmetic company uses 4, not 4,000, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts per million. All it is an ingredient claim, and you have 2.5 times more product than they do. So 50,000 parts, 50,000 compared to 4, and then we're using 2.5 times more product, and our product costs about 60% less than theirs does. On top of that, even though there's so much more quantity in it.
So when I go around, you definitely educated me on these different things, and that's called fairy dusting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's rampant in this industry and far more common in the products that you use that you'd ever think. I want to say hi to Jody Mingles. She says, thank you for doing these live segments. As for me, they're laborious, but and he's hard to work with, but you're welcome. Joe Hill says this is her second favorite product next to Transfusium, so I know a lot of people out there like them. So is there another ingredient out there that you want to talk about?
Well, there's a whole bunch in this formulation. If you look at the formulation, so when I do something, you need to understand sometimes the total of all ingredients working together synergistically is greater than the individual power of the components themselves. So I blended a whole number of things in it. But here's a couple of things, and all we can do is say it supports these things. But to get a product to go into the skin depends on the size of the molecule, the molecular weight. The smaller, the easier it goes through. We talked about that last week. But with that, what we're doing is we are taking ingredients, and let me just read a couple of these that are in it. One of them is that we actually use a form of resveratrol. It's a great antioxidant for it itself, but it also supports mitochondria within the cell, and mitochondria is what builds energetics in the skin. So if the skin is going to repair at night, you want a lot of energy and energetics going into it. So I put resveratrol, and it's nano size, so it goes right in. That's one. Then we have some products in here that, and I won't go through all of the names for them, but here's one that's very powerful for protecting the DNA of the cells. And here's another one that supports actually the cell's ability as a nutrient, as face food, if you can actually think of it in that term, but it's not like food. It's a spectacular natural extract, and it supports the skin to repair damaged DNA.
Well, Pat Garrett says he loves it for sunburns, so you can't get more damaged DNA and damaged skin than from a sunburn. And he says he loves it for those. Kathy Capanella says she loves the way her face feels at night when she wakes up. It's so soft.
Well, it definitely does that because there's so many components of it to improve circulation, to speed up the cell turnover rate, and actually there are some things in it why I like it for sunburn, because sunburn is oxidation damage, and so as it damages, you get that tremendous amount of heat. And if you can get it quick with rapid repair, you rub it in until the heat goes away. And the reason the heat goes away is it's neutralized the damage from the free radicals that's causing the inflammation. And so when that does, and then you feel the heat coming back, rub some more in until the heat goes away. You do that a little bit, you'll probably never burn. It could turn into a tan if you'll get it quick enough with that. And that shows the enormous amount of power that's with it. But there's a number of other things that supports the skin with stem cells and all of those things that do so much. And the nice thing about it is it has really powerful components for anti-wrinkle improvement, the look, the improvement of it. Well, all these things we have to say supports or improves the look. It seems, it feels, it looks, and it does. But if you look at the scientific studies, we're going to start to publish some of these, and you look at the studies, you'll say, oh my God, this thing is enormously powerful. But all we can say is what the FDA allows us to say, and that is it makes it seem, look, feel, supports these things. But there is no product like this. And now what we're doing is, while we have all of these things going, I've come across another discovery that down the road you're going to see coming in. We're experiencing it with it right now, and it'll even change the color a little bit. But what happens is, in a cell, it's you take in nutrients and oxygen, you create energy, you produce new cells. But within the stem cells themselves, everything that goes in it for nutrients isn't used and discarded out. Some is called cellular garbage, and lipofuscin is the name for it, but it's cellular garbage, so it accumulates. It's like if in your house, you know, when you go to your house and you see all that garbage that's around in your house, if you took 99% of the garbage out of your house, how much garbage do you think you'd have in your house in 5 years or 10 years? It's the same principle with your skin. So you get cellular garbage, and when cellular garbage is there, it plugs everything up. And so nutrients can't get in, oxygen can't get in, the metabolic processes can't go. You can't quite discharge the waste. I found a compound that will support the skin to get rid of the lipofuscin and dump the garbage, so the cells can be there, so they can regenerate, repair themselves as the mechanism within cells is to do it. And so now we're going to be adding that very soon to the formula again. Why? Because it's been discovered we can do it. There's no products like this one in the world, and we're going to make it even better than it was before. But if you want to repair the damage that's happened during the day, rapid repair at night is the product to do it with.
Okay, awesome. No, actually, if I could do a Vulcan-like mind transplant, I wouldn't even need you. I'd just take your information and I'd talk to myself.
You need my credit cards.
So next week we're gonna have Tom Jr. We've got 3 more products to go as Tom finishes the last of the skincare line. But next Tuesday, because next Monday we're all celebrating the 4th of July, and then Tom Mower Jr. is going to be in the hot seat, and he's going to talk about how taking our Triangle of Life, TSX, those products help our skin from the inside out. And then after that, we'll finish as Tom goes through the rest of the products of the skincare line. So make sure you join us. Again, have your questions. We love to see Joe Hill from Australia says amazing. Katie Larking from Australia, they're there this morning. Just getting up. Marion Snedeker, can we use this during the day without makeup? Of course you can. Anytime you can put your skincare on, no makeup, let your skin breathe and take in all the nutrients in these products, all the better. So I want to thank Tom for coming today, and we'll have him here in 2 weeks. And anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, one thing. Take a look at this. See that? I'm down to 203, and when I started on this program, I was 246 on weight loss. RWL has taken me down that last, I guess right now it's probably 27 pounds here in just the last 3 months or so with it. None of my pants fit. I put them on, they fall down. I have to put new notches in my belt. I'll tell you what, these products are designed to work. This weight loss is really working. But for the skincare, if you want skin, look at these photos we get and things from this. And these aren't, they're not ones that are doctored like most of them are for these other companies. These are real photos from real distributors that send them in, and it gets better and better and better. So everything that we do, you have to understand one thing. We don't look at an ingredient and put it in for an ingredient claim. We put it in, and we put it in the maximum effective dosage to give the maximum effects, and then we use, as this formulation shows, a myriad of ingredients with it, all working within it to make a sensational product, not based on one ingredient like most companies do that market it. It's a complexity. There are some powerful individual ones and then some very powerful secondary ones, but the total of it gives you tremendous results.
Well, they're saying up there you look great, Tom. You can tell you're losing weight, looking awesome. So the feedback is exactly what you're saying, and I'm hearing from a lot of other people.
Oh yeah, and there's somebody up there just said use diatomic hydrogen water. You bet.
Absolutely.
To wash your skin with that, that's absolutely the best thing to do for skin.
And of course, drinking it from the inside out, helping your skin the best you can do. So thanks for joining us, guys, and see us next Tuesday at 3 o'clock.